Yeah, so it's been a while since I've had this nice, terrible yellow background behind me. So, of course, there's always baseball stuff going on. I want to talk a little football right now. As I've said before, my dad's a Steelers fan. They play in the AFC North Division. And, of course, one of the bigger rivals over these last couple decades has been the Baltimore Ravens. Personally, I've never really had a problem with the Ravens. I'm a Jets fan. But as respect for my dad's choice in teams, you gotta not like the Ravens a little bit. But I also liked Joe Flacco as a quarterback. Was he great? No. Did he win a Super Bowl? Yeah. But when he got kicked to the curb for Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson started doing well, kind of started hating on the Ravens again. Let's talk a little bit about Lamar Jackson. He has had nothing short of a remarkable season this year. He did pretty well last year, taking over for Joe Flacco, and he's shown basically nothing but that he can make big plays when big plays need to happen. He's a scrambling quarterback. He's only 6'1", 6'2", at 215 pounds, which isn't very big at all. I think the first time I saw him, I was like, well, that's a small wide receiver. But no, he's the quarterback. And the problem I have with Lamar Jackson, other than playing for Baltimore and taking Flacco's spot, is that he's a dual quarterback, and we've seen this before, and it works, but not for very long. If you want to take, you always say Tim Tebow, who's a scrambling guy, but he couldn't throw. Lamar can throw a little bit. He's gotten more success with the shorter throws and whatnot, compared to not staying in the pocket and chucking it down deep most of the time. Just himself has more rushing yards than I think some other teams, which is really sad. But we've seen this before with other quarterbacks that have tried scrambling. I know Russell Wilson tried a little bit. Not that he was specifically a scrambler, but Russell Wilson's just another breed of quarterback altogether. We saw this with Cam Newton. Cam Newton broke so many records his first couple of years, especially with running. Most rushing yards, most rushing touchdowns was a big one. I think after his third or fourth year, he had more career rushing yards and touchdowns than Tom Brady had in his 15-year career or whatever it was up to that point. Cam Newton might be out of Carolina come next year. It's just a matter. I'm not saying Cam Newton still can't run, but what's going on is that he's getting older. He's not as mobile and agile. One of the videos I've seen that has been breaking down things was they were talking about why some of these younger players are better at scoring on these free kicks and kickoffs and punt returns. And it has to do because, one, they're younger, they're more athletic, and they're also not as smart. And that sort of comes into the field where it's oh, hey, I know I shouldn't do this, so I'm not going to. But because they're so young, they're just going to do it anyway, and they're just going to get lucky. And that's sort of what Lamar Jackson's gotten so far. He's gotten a lot of luck on his side. He's still very young, still very athletic, spry, and props to him for putting together a good MVP-worthy season, and hopefully he has some good years to come, because you don't want to see a bright player come crashing down. But he's got to be more careful, especially with the running, because with the way the league is a quarterback-driven league. And if you don't have your quarterback, you're screwed. So if he's going to be taking some of these runs, he's an actual runner now. And I'm not saying these defensive guys are going to go head first, but get a tackle, there goes your ACL, maybe your Achilles tendon. So he's got to be careful. He's got to protect himself. He shouldn't be running this much. But for right now, he is, and he's leading the Ravens to a good AFC North title, maybe even a Super Bowl appearance or win. Lamar Jackson, love him, hate him, say what you want about him. He's having a great year. It's not going to last this long. Baltimore, I'll see you next week.